For days, rumors had been circulating in the nearby regions. Massive wild boar herds spotted deep in the northern forest, right along the edge of the farmlands. Locals had reported broken fences, torn up irrigation lines, and entire fields of corn completely wiped out overnight. It wasn't just a few stray animals anymore. This was something much bigger. A wave, a full-blown invasion. And we knew we had to act fast before it got worse. At first light, our team set off, fully geared and more focused than ever. The air was cold and heavy with moisture. You could smell the wet earth and hear the distant rustle of leaves as the forest woke up. As we entered the dense woods, the silence around us was both calming and ominous, broken only by the occasional bark of our hunting dogs and the crunch of boots over fallen branches. We reached a clearing where signs of recent activity were everywhere. Deep hoof prints, broken shrubs, mud streaks along the rocks. The herd couldn't have been more than an hour ahead. Our dogs picked up the scent instantly and bolted forward. We followed close behind, weaving through the trees, ducking under limbs, climbing slopes. The adrenaline had already kicked in. Then we heard it, a sharp bark, then another, then a loud rustle. Suddenly, a large boar burst out from behind a thicket, charging across the clearing like a tank. I raised my rifle, tracked its movement, and squeezed the trigger. The shot hit low, enough to slow it. A second shot from my partner dropped it completely. We barely had time to celebrate. Another, smaller boar shot out of the underbrush, heading in the opposite direction. The team split, firing in bursts as more shapes emerged from the tree line. 2, then 3, then 5 boars at once. It was chaos. Leaves flew, dogs barked furiously, and the forest echoed with the sound of gunfire. Within 15 minutes, we had brought down at least 7 animals. We regrouped, caught our breath, reloaded, and pushed deeper. The real herd, we guessed, was still up ahead. The further we walked, the more damage we saw. Trees with bark stripped away, massive wallows in the mud, broken nests, signs of a large and restless group. As the sun climbed higher, we reached a ridge overlooking a narrow valley. That's when we saw them. A group of nearly 15 boars moving in tight formation, digging and grunting near the base of a stream. We took positions on the high ground. From here, we had the advantage. We moved silently into place. I lay flat on my stomach, steadying my rifle over a moss-covered rock. One deep breath, then the signal. The first shot rang out, and all hell broke loose. Boars scattered, some running uphill, others crashing through the stream. We fired in quick bursts, adjusting for distance and movement. One by one, they dropped. By the end of that encounter, our count had already reached over a dozen confirmed hits. But the forest wasn't done with us yet. Just as we prepared to descend into the valley, one of the dogs barked sharply and took off to our left. We followed, ducking through a narrow trail surrounded by thick, wet ferns. The trail opened into a small bowl-shaped glade, where, to our shock, another herd had gathered, this time with one massive male leading the group. This one was different, larger, smarter. As soon as he spotted us, he didn't charge like the others. He retreated into the brush, using the terrain to his advantage. We knew if we didn't act fast, he'd escape and likely regroup elsewhere. We flanked from both sides, working slowly, communicating through short whispers. One shot rang out. Miss, then silence, then another loud rustle. He was flanking us. The moment I turned, he exploded out from the brush not 20 meters away. I had 1 second. I fired. Direct hit to the shoulder. He stumbled, roared, and lunged again. A second shot from behind me, this time from Alex, finally ended it. He dropped mid-stride. When we walked up to him, we were stunned. Easily the biggest boar we'd ever taken down. A true forest king. Scars across his snout, half a tusk broken, thick armor-like hide. This one had seen many battles. By sundown, Our total count had climbed above 25 wild boars. The forest, finally, seemed quiet again, but we knew it wouldn't last. Before we packed up, I looked out over the valley, the fading sunlight painting the treetops gold. We'd done our part for today, but tomorrow would bring more tracks, more destruction, and more hunts. If you're enjoying these wild hunts, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and comment below where we should head next. Your support helps us keep doing what we love and keeps the farmland safe. Until next time, stay sharp, stay ready, and never let your guard down. The wild never sleeps. The next morning came quickly. After a few hours of sleep and some much-needed gear maintenance, we were back on the road before dawn. Our destination this time was deeper into the forest range, uncharted territory, barely touched by human activity. According to a few local farmers, this was where the real damage was happening. Entire swaths of fields were being trampled overnight, and some even reported boars coming dangerously close to livestock pens. This wasn't just about hunting anymore, it had become a mission. As we arrived at the new location, a thick fog blanketed the forest floor. The morning sun had barely risen, and the trees looked like towering shadows stretching into a pale gray sky. Visibility was poor, but that only sharpened our focus. Every sound, every crack of a twig underfoot felt amplified. Our dogs were alert, noses to the ground, moving with practiced precision. Within the first hour, we encountered the first group. 5 wild boars were moving single file along a ridge just above us, unaware of our presence. Using hand signals, we spread out and took positions below. I aimed upward, my scope locking onto the third in line, a bulky male. One steady breath, a clean shot. He tumbled forward and rolled down the slope. The others scattered. A quick barrage of follow-up shots from the team brought down 2 more. The rest disappeared into the mist. As we climbed the slope to confirm the kills, we heard more movement behind the trees. The sound of hooves pounding the dirt. We turned just in time to see another large boar crashing through a dense thicket. I didn't hesitate. I spun and fired. The shot clipped its flank, slowing it down just enough for Alex to finish the job with a clean heart shot. By midday, we'd already taken down over 10 wild boars, but the real action was still ahead. After a short rest and some scouting, we found a massive wallow site, deep, muddy, surrounded by broken branches and hoof prints. A recent gathering spot. The dogs began circling the area, barking wildly. Then, from behind a cluster of boulders, came a guttural grunt. A massive boar, easily 130 kilos, launched out of cover and charged straight at us. There was no time to think. I stepped aside, felt the air shift as it passed inches from me, then raised the barrel and fired into its back as it kept running. It stumbled. Another shot from the left flank dropped it cold. The impact shook the team. This was no ordinary animal. It had a fresh gash on its snout, and its hide was thick with dried mud and old scars. A survivor, a fighter. And there were more. We moved on, pushing further into the forest. As the sun began its descent, the light filtering through the trees turned golden, casting everything in a surreal glow. Suddenly, the dogs took off again, and this time they didn't stop barking. We ran after them through dense undergrowth, leaping over rocks, ducking under branches, until we came upon an open glade. And there they were, a full herd, at least 20 strong, feeding, grunting, unaware. We fanned out quietly. Everyone picked a target. The signal came, one loud bark, and we opened fire. The chaos was immediate. Boars scattered in all directions. I dropped the first one at mid-range, then spun to track another darting left. A clean shoulder shot sent it tumbling. 2 more dashed across the clearing. The team took them down together. Through the smoke and dust, I saw a massive female sprinting for the tree line. I adjusted, fired, missed, fired again. Direct hit. She collapsed mid-stride. When the dust finally settled, we counted 12 confirmed takedowns. The rest had vanished into the forest. The dogs were exhausted. So were we. But as we looked across the clearing, at the sheer scale of what we had just faced, we knew this was only the beginning. These animals were multiplying fast, moving in larger groups, adapting to our tactics. But so were we. We were faster, smarter, better equipped, and more determined than ever. As night fell and the stars began to appear above the treetops, we gathered around a small fire, cleaning our rifles, sharing stories, watching the dogs sleep curled by our boots. And somewhere, deeper in the forest, the next herd was already on the move.
Saniye. Aç çıksın. Çıktı.
The next morning, we returned to the same clearing, this time with reinforcements. 2 more hunters had joined our team, bringing additional tracking dogs and thermal scopes. Overnight, we had reviewed the drone footage and noticed something strange. Movement patterns suggesting a second, even larger herd deeper within the valley. Within minutes of arrival, the dogs picked up a strong scent trail. We followed them cautiously through a narrow path where the trees grew dense and tangled. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed through the woods, branches snapping under heavy hooves. Then silence. We froze. Seconds later, a giant boar charged out from the right. I barely had time to react, raised my rifle, aimed for center mass, and squeezed the trigger. The beast dropped instantly. Another rustle, another shape moved behind the bushes. The team opened fire together. 3 more down.
Hadi çık.
Toplandılar.